There we go. Welcome, welcome. Beer me, Dr. V, sister-in-law, TT Steffi. We're happy to have you. This is a little step up from our last one, 2 years ago?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It definitely was.
And we have a better, camera switcher, and he can cut out all my, burps and whatnot. But no, welcome. I was super stoked to have you because, this has always been fun doing it together. We've always kind of been into cameras and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But Beer Me, Dr. V, this kind of was a cool idea that you had. How many years ago?
It's been now, I guess March will be 2 years.
March.
So Mags and I were just sitting at community and we're like, man, you know what? We really should try to do something together, like a little art project together.
Sure.
We had our Instagram for our dogs like everyone else does.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It would be kind of fun to do a beer podcast or just pictures and videos on beer.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting there in community drinking over beer. And I was like, you know what? A lot of times when people talk about beer, they say, hey, beer me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it would almost be like myself and my husband Mags. And,
Yep.
and I was like, hey, and he'd be like, beer me, Dr. V.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, let's run with it and see where we go. So 2 years later, we walk into breweries and people will recognize us. It's pretty exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
Well, and I think like at one moment, like there were people sending beers for you to kind of just review and whatnot, which is cool.
yeah.
That would be a goal of ours. But so where's Max? No, I'm just kidding. He's over there. He is the support system right there. And he's also the procurement of these fine beverages that we're sipping on today.
I will
right?
say, yes, and definitely a lot of times I will say, and we always tell people this, we travel for beer. Max and
I love that. That's
yeah.
really cool. And I think part of like your kind of big affinity with the beer, it kind of started in Maine when you were doing your was it an internship in Maine?
Well, I was in Maine for pharmacy school, so that was over 4 years. I never really liked
She really is a
IPAs.
doctor, y'all.
Yeah, and so I was like, I really never liked IPAs until I moved to Maine. You're almost forced to because that's the main
That's
the main beer
in Maine.
style.
Yes.
So just learning just different things about beers and that, you know what? The flavor profiles and then just getting into it, nerding out. Like science goes hand in hand, beer and pharmacy.
Okay.
It's all chemistry.
Gotcha.
So even like home brewing and things like that. It all kind of flew into the hobby.
Yes.
So.
Do you guys homebrew?
We do. And so I think we kind of started, I will blame my brother for this. 1 year, I think it was for
Kenneth
Christmas.
Noisewater?
The Noisewater bought us a homebrew kit.
Oh, yes.
A little 1 gallon
yes.
fermenter.
I bet.
And we have been going ham. We've made a lot of seasonal beers. We actually just did an oatmeal chocolate milk pumpkin stout.
What?
We have one more bottle left. I'm trying to save
it. Nice.
Yeah.
So when you do these home brews, how long is the process? Do you have any advice for like first timers? Like that it's around Christmas time. They may have gotten a kit. So
yeah.
What's some learnings that you found and trial and error mistakes to avoid?
I will definitely say homebrewing is a lot easier than you would expect.
Really?
You just have to make it a very clean process. When you get homebrewing kits, they provide you all of that material of how to clean everything. So anything that's going to be touching beer has to be cleaned with a specific sensitizing or cleaning
like the
solution.
growler itself.
Yeah, like something that you're going to measure, anything that you're going to put in there, even like your bottle caps, you're going to clean those if you bottled your beers. Yes.
Really?
So the cleanest, the cleanest you can make your beer, the better it's going to taste overall.
Sure.
I would say 4 to 6 weeks maybe, depending on the type of beer.
Damn, 4 to 6 weeks.
So even this last beer that we just did, we started planning in it late August, and we drank it early October when my dad came to town, and he was the first one to try it. So,
really? What did Victor think?
Of course, he loved it, and so I was like, "Do you want more?" My dad is a big dark beer fan, so it kind of worked out.
So Victor likes like Guinness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess going through all these and seeing the trends, you say you base it around travel, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Or you guys travel to where the hot spots are, or the breweries that interest you. Where do you see that going in the next few years? because before the podcast, you'd mentioned like you're seeing a lot go out of business.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I would say the last 2 years, a lot of our spots, like even if they were just brew pubs, we'd find that they would be either slowing down or losing business, or even like brewery stores, like places where you can buy hops and grain and things.
Oh,
they're slowly
like
going out of
store.
business. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
So, but finding that uniqueness and evolving around your community, or making yourself a hub for your community, having a cycling club, having a running club, book clubs. We went to
just mix beer with it.
Yeah, we went to a brew pub, and they actually had a book club, and they had the book on display and said, "Join our book club." And and they meet every so often, and have a beer while they're doing it. So
I mean,
finding your niche.
it brings people together, right?
Oh, for sure.
And it's crazy because you saw kind of cyclically, like the wine's always been there with your sommeliers, and then the distillers, but then like the cicerones and whatnot. You see a lot of these places, and I mean, are these cicerones kind of, do people follow them, or do they follow kind of the branding or the style? What is it? I mean, so I'll let you answer that.
So kind of going back to like where this all evolved from, and like how I kind of got into it. On the summers, I actually would study wine and beer. My last spring break of pharmacy school, I actually went to Napa because we were so nerded out over
Napa.
Wine. And so I feel like for me, that just kind of fell into the beer scene. I worked in the industry before pharmacy school for like 10 years or so. So just seeing, a Cicerone, you feel confident in that person, that they know what they're talking about.
Sure.
So it just makes the brewery a lot, again, they can kind of evolve around what's going on. So the seltzer scene kind of coming up.
Yeah.
Seasonal beers. When COVID happened, breweries got crazy, adding all these different things. We had there's a chicken wing beer and hot Cheeto beers at Martin House and Fort Worth. Yeah. So I feel like the more knowledge you have, you can balance flavors and make something taste amazing.
Okay. So to that flavor profile, I have the culinary background. Do you see beer pairing like in synchrony with like wine does with food?
I would definitely say so. More recently, Mags and I went to Chicago in October for the marathon weekend.
In October,
and it was actually a great.
Too cold.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone was like, you know what, Windy City, it's gonna be cold. It was not actually that bad. We got really lucky.
Yeah, we
went to this place called Industry Ales, and I first of all don't really go out of my way to have mussels. They had this.
Mussels are badass.
With one of their farmhouse or saison ales, which is kind of like more of a sour beer, lemon, citrusy, and they put that in the mussels. So I had that beer with the mussels. Fantastic. Ate the whole plate.
See, that I can dig on that. So back to kind of like these, breweries or shops or so are you going to be successful, or it's hard to kind of quantify it, but are you going to be successful if are you bringing in food trucks, or you have your own kitchen? Because if you bring in food trucks, it's hard to kind of pair that food with your beer.
Yeah.
You have more control in the culinary kind of quantification with your own beer, and then obviously the rotations, rotating the menus. But I think it would be cool to see like a chef pair up with breweries and just go just run a circuit of beer dinners or something.
I think so.
That would be badass.
Well, you're going through the right track. So we have Denton Brewing Company out in Denton, Texas, north of Fort Worth. I would say probably about 40 minutes.
She's from Funky Town.
They host dinners and do beer pairings with their dinners. There's a lot of breweries and brew pubs that will do that now because they know that there is an interest.
Yeah.
I would say the craft beer scene has evolved and grown.
Yeah.
Now, we live in Burleson. Craft beer is not really going to be something that you're going to see very often.
Massive
bringing in those food trucks that we know are going to bring the people in, and then perhaps they're going to be able to try some of those craft beers, or just seeing what people like.
You can see both work.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense too. It's like
bringing the non-beer lover, or maybe non-craft.
You're just there to kind of hang out with the social setting. Every time you're here in Houston or the Houston area, you guys like to go check out a couple.
Yeah.
So I think like out of, and it's been the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Give me the rundown on some of the ones that you've really like kind of put in your top 5?
Wow. So that would be challenging. I will say we prefer, Mags and I, and just me again in general, living in Maine for a little while, very non-commercial.
Okay.
We love, I feel like we're a little bit biased because it's right by, like, you know, the area that we're at is Katy.
Yeah.
No Label has made a name for themselves. They are in all these different types of festivals, winning awards. It's really great. St. Arnold is a great oldie but goodie. Carbach, which we're going to potentially sample today.
Sure.
Another one that I've had, and I can, Walking Stick. It was a random Walking Stick brewery. I can't remember where in Houston it was, but one weekend we happened to stumble upon it. And again, this is where Mags comes in. He ends up finding out, he's like, where are we? And is there a brewery near us? And so anywhere we go, we can find a spot.
Hey, that is a very, very important role in this operation, Mags. You're doing a hell of a job, brother. So back to No Label. Like, it's a family friendly. I think they do. It's a vibe, right? Yeah. So they have cool stuff going on Saturday. Like, they're the OGs of like the pickleball kind of evolution that kind of made it to where it was. They were doing it before it was massive. Yeah. They'd have Saturday tournaments and stuff. So I just like going out there, and me not being like the huge beer connoisseur. I still have a good time there. And then there's a distillery right next door, but they have stuff for the kids.
Yes.
They've always got food. There's events out there. So you can have a good time regardless. So I think that's a lot of the, I think that's more importantly what kind of drives a little bit of additional or sustaining success to these breweries is
I agree.
Something for everyone.
Yes. And so I will definitely say that family-oriented piece definitely will drive couples and families to come out.
No doubt.
Dog-friendly also, because fur babies exist.
Oh, 100. I think every brewery is dog-friendly, right? Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
At least their patios, if anything.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, Sophia loves going to No Label. They've got 2 or 3 playgrounds out there, and she's just running crazy. It's fun. And we used to bring Chloe back when she had a little giddy up in her step.
Yeah.
But speaking to, we'll throw a little controversial sauce out there. Speaking to adapting to the masses of demands, you know, some of these brewers, they irk when they have to pour it, but you know, it sells. And you know where I'm going.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Why are they doing it? Because, you know, I mean, they hate it or whatever, but they have it and it sells.
Yeah.
So is that, talk to me about that. I want your whole opinion.
So I will say, if you are going to a brewery and you know there's only going to be beer there, again, controversial, most women do not go for a glass of beer, or if they do, they may be going for a lager. So having the additional options where, hey, I have wine, or hey, I have seltzer, or hey, we have ranch waters, we have lighter options, margarita machines, something. The seltzer scene probably been around for quite a while, but yes, I would say the brewers irk because they're like, it's one of those things that have to be. So they don't prefer to make them. But, you know, they're going to make them because they know that they're popular.
The shit out
they
of them.
really are. So I remember the first time we went to Bankhead Brewing Company, which is in Fort Worth. Bankhead. It's on that trail, I guess. There's a trail called Bankhead.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of those places. They have amazing food, great beer.
There you go.
And they hate to make the seltzer, but they'll do it because it'll bring in the people that are non-beer
It's their number
believers.
one stunner, Mags. That's, I mean, so it's kind of the necessary evil, if you will.
I will say, too, talking about that, having NA options is huge now.
Yes. I have that here in my notes, like with the NA options. So increasing customer interest or just low ABV options. Because, I mean, what's the ABV on that bad boy?
So this one that I'm drinking right now is probably about a 6.6. Most craft beers can be between 4.4 to like beyond. Triples and quads are like... can be as strong as wine sometimes, 14%.
Good Lord.
Yes.
So that's kind of the direction. Because you'd mentioned that stuff, that it's kind of getting more popular too.
Yeah.
So is it going more to like that low, like just crisp, refreshing lager that everybody kind of started microbreweries to get away from, and it's kind of going full circle, and it's back there.
Isn't that hilarious? I will say,
I think it's funny as shit.
Places like, I'm trying to think of what it's called, Athletic Brewing Company, or even Shiner. Okay. Shiner has a line of rodeo, and the O is a 0.
Yeah.
Most NA beers have still
caloric
a small
intake's
amount.
Important for people now.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
or even hop waters. Like we go around that route where it's
hop water is nails.
I like it a lot too.
That right there, it's got the adaptogens in it, so it's kind of just gives you a vibe, almost like a little CBD or something. But I was talking to your father when he came here 2 weeks ago, or about a week ago, and he was just talking about how the generation of the consumption, the majority of the consumption, the target market is drinking less alcohol.
Oh yeah.
So they're going more to like they're drinking less wine, they're drinking less like spirits, they're drinking stuff like this, or the hop waters, or CBD cocktails, all that. So it's just kind of like adapt or die.
But, honestly, there's actually a place in Richardson that is a full zero liquor and like spirits bar now, which is just north of Dallas. So there are places popping
there's
up
a lot of pissed
in Florida.
Off people in there.
Oh yeah, if you had to search it, and again, it's a great time to be gluten-free, zero alcohol. Like there's some low-cal, so many options for people that don't want to just imbibe on alcohol all the time.
No, and I get it, but it's funny because a lot of spirits and stuff that was out there that just they didn't market it well. Like, there's the Ultra, right? They come out and they're like, oh, super low calorie, blah, blah, blah. Like, lo and behold, like, the recipe never changed, and it's over 100 years old, but Miller was less in calories and carbs. So it's just like you got to kind of, where are you going to go with it? Do you want to hit that? Is it a trend? But I would say that this industry is one of the fastest and just changing of everything, right? Because microbreweries, I mean, you're talking about them going out of business. There's no really secret sauce of sustainability, right?
Yeah.
It's just whatever the hell your geography around you is.
Yeah. Because what works here in Houston may not work well in Massachusetts, may not work well in California. So you really have to, again, adapt or die. So if that's what's working, continue it. Or again, having your team going out to brew festivals and finding out what is going on in conferences.
And what's popular. So with what's popular, we were talking about, the rise of the NABs and all that stuff, but like experimental flavors.
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys do a lot of travel, you all have a widened palette, if you will. What are you seeing in some of these recent tours or these pit stops? Because like you just said, Massachusetts is different than Texas, but you guys are all over the map. So are you going and gravitating towards like what's popular in the area, just try it out, or are you going for what you like?
That's actually very important to kind of harp on, because depending on where you are, it may change what they're offering, because hop availability is pretty open to all of the US, but you're gonna have New England's gonna be more of that New England style IPA, more hazy, citrusy, tropical. California's gonna have more West Coast IPAs. They're gonna be a little bit more malty. So it's really what's going on in the market and what are people really reaching out for. Whenever I go to New England, I'm going to go for a Saison or a farmhouse ale, because we can't really find those here.
So you can't get it there. So you're going out to the stuff that's hard to get here.
Especially those nano and micro breweries, or even going to Karbach. Like you can go to that brewery and have beers that you have never had from that if you're just going to to the local supermarkets and finding those beers. So it's just really interesting. And I think that's where we gravitate to. We went to Arkansas recently, and they literally were like, you cannot get this outside of Arkansas. So those kind of things, we're grabbing them. We're driving when we can. Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, so that's cool. I like that, like, just approach to it all. And that just keeps it fun, new, and always changing. And I'd love to see your beer fridge at your house.
So it's funny. We had just recently moved to Burleson. When we moved, I got a small beverage fridge, and all of my craft beers are in there. And Mags and his friends that come over to the house know that this is the Beer Me Dr. V fridge. Do not touch beers out of this fridge because they are for the episodes. So we procure, and we kind of release stuff. So because we were in the holiday season, we did a Shiner Home for the Holidays variety pack recently.
Nice.
We'll do, like, for the fall, we'll do a lot more, again, seasonal beers, more pumpkin-related beers, allspice things. Summertime, we'll do more citrusy beers. Beers from, like, the beach.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we living in Florida, you know, we will try to find breweries out there, but we're always looking for new beers. Is it tough to find
them there? I mean, when you guys do go, there's a good selection?
Surprisingly, every time we go, we find something different and find something new. There are so many breweries. So
put Mags on the case.
Yeah, in exactly. In DFW, you know, it's pretty hard for us to find something that's new. So whenever we do, it's very lucky. So that Jack of All we just went to in Dallas, when we went for the Dallas Half Marathon weekend, never been there. They have their own beer and we did not know. So Mags, kudos to Mags, he found a gem that we have never been to.
Oh boy.
And we go to Bishop Arts all the time and we just had no idea.
Just didn't know about it, right? I mean, and that's cool. It's like, again, back to the travel, back to just, you know, being open to new experiences, trying stuff.
And finding things under your nose that you didn't even know existed, which is really exciting.
There
it's
you
like,
go.
hey, you can keep exploring and find something new every time.
Hell yeah. I mean, so let's talk about your YouTube channel. Beer Me Dr. V.
Yeah.
And we'll put a little link in our comments section about it. And it's kind of fun. It's educational. How do you approach reviewing beers? And since we have 3 here, I'd love to just kind of see your process and go through it with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm the talk show host and you're cooking a recipe or something,
exactly.
right?
We literally, so I will say majority of the time when Mags and I started doing this, we started with like 3 to 4 beers.
Okay.
Maybe 10 minutes of just talking about each beer or so. Give us enough time to chatter about whatever else is going on around that time frame if we've had trips recently.
Sure.
But yeah, so we would try to find breweries that had to-go beers first, making lists of, you know, what are we looking for? What do we like? I will say between Mags and I, our palates have definitely grown. I did not like dark beers previously. And now, you know, to be unbiased to our followers, we need to make sure we're trying everything and so we use this application called Untapped to rate our beers, and you know, and that's how you can really track what you're tasting. So I would recommend to anybody that's starting out to drink beer, download the Untapped app. You can pretty much find out what type of beer it is. If you find a list of beers at a brewery, you're not really sure what to start with, ask the bartender. They're going to be your best friend in that situation. If you're at a brewery, ask if they have a Cicerone. Most of them will have the Cicerone certificates displayed either on the wall or on the ceiling. Denton Brewing Company had them on the ceiling. This is kind of funny. But yeah, so unbiased.
The dude laying on the floor looking up probably isn't concerned about Cicerone's input on the beer.
But yeah, so trying to be unbiased. But what we do is each episode we'll go through at least, you know, 2 to 3 beers. We'll talk about each one, what makes it different, if there's anything fun. One of our episodes we did for Guinness, Mags actually showed a technique of how to pour it if it wasn't on a nitro tap. So that was actually a really popular video.
Was it with a spoon?
No, so you actually, in a pint glass, you actually, so the shorter cans don't have that little capsule in the bottom to give that carbonation.
I love those Guinness cans.
You actually can flip it inside of the cup and kind of slowly bring it up, and it'll give it that frothy flavor.
Okay.
But so little tips and tricks like that. We talk about the hops. So say we've never had this hop before, we're going to go through it and explain it. Or again, like how we mentioned pairing earlier. Oh, this beer would be amazing with a barbecue chicken pizza. This would be awesome for carnitas. You can use this to cook. Put this in some, you know, a rice dish. Like, so we kind of go through that.
Dude, I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry, and I'm going to go to dinner. I'm going to eat a lot, and I'm going to order a Guinness first off, bro. Y'all made me want one. So let's do a review. Let's pick one real quick and see. So we'll go kind of through these 3.
Yeah.
2 like well-knowns in Houston, and one little, you know, kind of a small micro. Badass can, by the way. It looks like a comic book.
Yeah.
That one's super cool. These guys, they're OG triples, you know, rode on their MS-150 team. Cool. It was awesome.
We love so this brewery specifically, if you ever go, it's really cool. It looks like a church inside. And so again, getting to that uniqueness, what kind of brewery do you go to and it looks like a cathedral or has like those kinds of things that you can buy like a cycling shirt.
Yeah.
Like really cool.
And
brewery tours.
And I think they're on their second location because their first one was they did a good job. Here's what I think helped them sustain kind of any tough time that was thrown at them was they had event space. And the upstairs was all like glass surrounding walls.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
we did that during the tour.
Tanks were kind of towering around it.
Yeah.
But it had an event space for like 200 people.
Yeah.
I catered a wedding there once.
Nice.
That menu was so fun to cook, dude. He was like, I want like homemade pretzels with like this badass. Yeah. We used one of their beers in the mustard sauce.
Nice.
And I mean, dude, we did fish and chips, and it's just fun food. And I mean, I don't know how you can be mad eating like that good grub, drinking that good beer.
Mags and I almost got married at Four Corners, but it was just too hard to pin down.
Let's just say this: your venue that you got married at. Come on.
But like, I mean, everybody amazing. Was like, it would have made sense if you guys got married in a brewery, and I was like, come on, you know?
Yeah.
So, we still had a great time. We even, we're trying to do collabs with some of our favorites in the area. They're like, hey, can we do a beer? And we can, have you guys, have it at the wedding. So, it's just, fun things and ideas that they allow you to do that you would never think of. Well, you can brew a beer and bring it to your wedding, and you can name it whatever you want. You can actually be a part of the process. Or putting the beer in the food process for the catering for their wedding. So
there you go.
It's really cool. Again, niche.
That's right. I mean, and then like you said, just doing stuff that's just different than what everyone else is doing. I want to see you review one of these bad boys. Sure. I kind of want to be educated.
So we do again have 3 beers here. We're starting off with our St. Arnold. So typically when we're going through beers, we will either go from lightest to darkest.
Okay.
As far as style.
Progressive.
Yeah. Progressive through style or progressive through ABVs. So this one, we're going to be more so characteristic to the styles. These 3 are all IPAs. 2 of them are New England style IPAs. We're going to have more tropical, citrus, hazy, opaque beers. The third one is going to be just a traditional IPA. It's going to be a lot hoppier than these other 2. Okay. And then it can be sometimes a little bit darker in color, maybe a little bit. So SRMs is how we color coordinate the
What's
beers.
What's SRM stand for?
That's a great question because I don't remember. SRMs. So the heavier, the light, you can go all the way down to 100 and more. So with that, technically SRMs, the higher the number, the darker the beer.
Is that?
So I will tell you that.
Okay, higher the number, the darker beer. So that has something to do with the opacity of the beer, or the color.
Yes.
Okay.
So imagine a Guinness would be probably on the 100 versus something like a lager is probably like a 10.
You stop saying Guinness because I'm ready for one now. Damn.
Yeah. IBUs, kind of similar thing. The higher the number on the IBU scale or international bitter units, that's one I do remember.
Oh, international bitter units.
Yeah. But I will say some of those beers, you can go beyond 100 and it will be very hoppy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So St. Arnold.
Let's do it.
Harmony. This is our hazy IPA from St. Arnold. It is going to be, I believe this one's a 6.6% alcohol by volume. This is the lowest percentage. So I tried to do it based on the ABVs, but again, because these 2 are both New England style IPAs, 6.5. I was close.
Really?
So yes, we've actually, Mags and I have never had the Harmony. So we're like, oh, let's grab this one. We bought first of all 3 of these beers, 6 packs from Kroger.
Okay.
Most of the farm, I keep saying pharmacies. You guys, my brain.
Because you're a pharmacist.
Every time when we go to the grocery store, we look for local beers, and we're gonna be looking for single cans. HEB is really good about having single craft beers where you can just kind of grab and go 6-pack, boom, done.
Yeah.
Citrusy.
You build your own kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's fun, right?
So now that's why I was like, now that we have an HEB close to our house, we end up filling up my beer fridge a lot faster.
Nice.
So
and I mean with these, right? Like you're building a 6-pack because when you're opening up one of these, let's say what's the typical person, they're not going to pound 6 of them, right?
Right. So craft beers, I will say these are not beers. There is a term or characteristic called crushable. Those are going to be your lighter beers. So if it's something that's crushable or easy drinking, light bodied, those are going to be your lagers.
Which one of these is crushable?
I feel like this will probably be the easiest and most crushable of the 3 for sure. And that's why we start that one. Get our palates open and ready for booziness because it definitely is.
Pour us up.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna pour you a little bit. I'm actually drinking the Harmony already.
You're drinking the Harmony already.
Yes, because I actually really like that.
Yeah,
this is a little sippy sip for you.
See how well prepared she is. It's like
this is my casserole.
Reaching down. I like it. So
the finished product. So
there's that stank.
I was gonna say you're gonna try beer just as you would try some wine. You want to see it, you want to smell it, you want to sip it, and you want to see the mouthfeel.
See it, smell it, sip it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an
Slurp
acronym.
it.
There is an acronym, and I haven't done it on the podcast in so long. I could not even tell you, but it's very similar to what you would do with wine. So you're gonna look at it. This is gonna be more of a golden color. You can tell it's opaque. It's a little bit cloudier,
hazy kind of. Cloudy.
This is New England IPA or NEPA. This is the cloudier the better. Oh my gosh, my main
with
beers,
New England.
Yes.
Okay.
They're gonna be hazy beer. So if you see a hazy IPA, likely it's gonna be more citrusy or tropical on the palate.
Okay.
IBUs sometimes kind of like mid 30s, can be as high as 40s. Or 60s, depending on the beer, So
yeah. So I will say this: the stank don't match the drink,
and that's why So my sister Melissa, she does not like drinking beer, but she has become quite the taster. She likes to actually go Melly.
Oh, really?
So she actually likes to go out of her way, and she's like, "Hey, I went to a beer festival." She will fill up her fridge if she knows that we're coming to the house. Okay. And so the last time we went in November, we annihilated her fridge.
Nice.
So I was like, "This was why."
So she's like, when you show up, she's proud of like the what she's curated.
Yes,
for you guys.
She's like, "This is what I got for you guys at my Key West Brew Fest that I went to."
Yeah, I just love that. I mean, the Excelsior, the can. So before we move on, like, how big of a role do you think the cans play in like marketing and purchasing?
I would say similar, and I keep going back to wine. If someone says, "Wow, look, these cans are kind of fun," like, I think this can looks fun, I want to try it.
Okay.
Something like, what is this one? There's an ugly sweater looking can from Prairie Ales, Prairie Artisan Ales. They have this beer that's called the Seasick Crocodile, and it's an ugly sweater for Christmas time. I love the can so much, and those are those things like this looks like a fun can. Yeah. It's a style
Grab
that
a six
I like.
pack. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lighter beer. If someone doesn't know about beer, again, find your people, man. There's people in the stores that'll can tell
recommend kind of,
And that's one thing that I love about like DFW. We have a lot of bottle shops where you can actually go. There's this place specifically. I love Bearded Monk. It's also in Denton. I wish we lived closer to Denton, honestly. They will do a podcast or like a reel on crushability of a beer. They'll chug a beer, 2 people on the episode, and talk about it.
Let's do that.
Yeah, I know. Chuggability, likability. Now, will you bring it home to mama?
Now it's time, baby. Come on, sit down next to no crushability.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool as far as, the real quick reviews, if you will, right?
So Mags and I went, so we haven't done a full-on episode since it's been almost a year. We've been doing reels. I love to do reels because we just can allow people to see more and more beers.
It's quick.
It's quick, home for the holidays. If you have a minute, you have enough time to watch an episode to just learn a little bit about a beer.
Yeah.
So specifically with this one, what we would typically do after each beer is say, okay, what would you rate it? Again, we go back to our Untapped app. It goes from a scale from 0 to 5.
Okay.
Mags would be like, you're giving them too good of reviews. So I kind of sit between a 3, 2, and a 4.
He brings down the hammer.
I hardly ever give 5s out anymore. If you look at my 5s, it's probably Heineken when I first started doing Untapped. Wow. That was my first love, you guys. Hey, and we had Heineken in Amsterdam, and it is completely different.
Is it now?
Guinness in Ireland is completely different. It tastes even better. And then just being out of the country, cellar temperature is such a huge thing.
Sure.
So we were actually kind of worried about, it's like, what temperature is
we're in Texas. It's just chilling out in a hot warehouse 9 times out of 10 before it goes into the fridge.
So Mags always makes fun of me. He's always like, oh, Stephanie likes coffee. I was like, I don't drink coffee, but I would love a cellar temperature beer. I was like, I will let my beer kind of sit a little bit to get kind of and cellar temperature meaning whatever temperature it would be under the ground. So most of the time that would be more like a 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe 50 degree, 55 degree Fahrenheit beer. And I'm okay with it.
Really?
Yeah. So this beer, I would say this is crushable. This would give,
it's definitely crushable.
I would give this a 3.75 out of a 5 for sure.
Okay.
It's an easy drink. If I could find it, I would definitely drink this one. And again, I've never had this beer. This is the first time I've had it. This is the first time Mags has had it. I would give it 3.75 for sure.
Mags, what would you give it, bro?
Did you try Harmony?
He's on can number 2. Ooh, 4.
Yeah, easy drinking.
Nice. Okay. So question, when you guys do, sample these new ones and everything, do y'all log the stuff and keep a good... Okay,
Untapped can give you, yes. And then you can, for me, I'm like, oh, let me look at the list. I've never had this beer. Let me look on Untapped to see what it looks like. So in the case that it is a darker beer, again, I'm okay with maltier, roasty, stout, or even porter beers. But if I'm not sure of what I'm going for, if we're just starting the day off, Mags is like, he'll go for the lighter beers. I go for a craft beer off the bat. ABVs, you're trying to look to see, but in the case of like, ooh, am I really wanting a dark beer right now? You can actually see that. People will post pictures. You'll follow people. You can see what people are checking in or what they had checked in before with that beer and kind of look to see what the beer looks like or what are people's reviews on the beer.
So you can follow someone that you like their opinions and
exactly.
their I guess, their palate.
Yeah.
That's
correct.
cool. That's
cool. So it makes it fun. So say people on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and they want to follow me on Untapped, they can. And there's milestones and there's badges. It makes it fun.
Okay. Achievements, if you will.
Yes, achievements.
So are we going to this bad boy next?
Yeah, so next one's going to be...
This is old school, by the way.
Carbach.
Hopadillo's been around a minute.
I will say, so this one, we just went to Carbach for the first time in September. They have so many beers that we had never tried at the actual brewery. And again, these are ones that they don't can.
Okay.
Yeah, so the juicy one, obviously it's canned. Depending on the marketing, if it's a micro or macro, both of these are at this point macro breweries. They probably have a team that helps with their distribution.
They're both owned by Budweiser now, right?
See, and that's why I feel like a lot of the breweries kind of fall into distribution, or if they want to do it on their own, they have their teams that do that.
It's got to be tough though.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's kind of I don't know. There's the good and the bad, right? Because maybe they didn't say it's massive in Houston, which is a big city. So fortunately, if they're massive in Houston, they're probably more successful than someone massive in Maine, right?
Yes, exactly.
So it gets that reach. It extends your reach, if you will. And I mean, as long as they're adamant with their philosophy and their practices, I mean, nothing changes. They're just getting more reach, right?
Yeah, and so funny enough, I don't know why my brain went this way, but something like Yuengling. Yuengling is the oldest brewery in the United States in Pennsylvania.
Is that in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, or that's Rolling Rock?
It's in Pennsylvania for sure.
No, Yuengling.
It's in Young. I forget what it is.
So Yountville, no,
something like that.
My friend, my neighbor here in Houston, he was out of Pennsylvania when he moved here, and he would always be excited when he came home for the holidays, because he'd fly back with a case of Yuengling.
Nice.
And it was like, it's the nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
And now that it's here, I mean, he was stoked as all get out. But that beer is over 100 years old, and it just now made it to Texas.
And so that's funny wild. Because when I used to, again, I worked in the industry for quite a bit. When I worked at a pool hall, Beyond Billiards, in Florida, we had Yuengling. And again, that was kind of it's going to be more of a caramelized malty beer. The green bottle itself kind of keeps it from damaging the beer itself. Correct. But it's just so funny because I was like,
the color of those bottles have they play a
purpose. Role. Yeah, a brewery that's that old. The fact that it's never been to Texas is usually last on the game for brewery scene, I would say, or just distribution. So it's just interesting. So Hopadillo, they have a lot of different varieties of Hopadillo. This is their juicy IPA. So this is their New England style Hopadillo.
Why am I thirstier after I drink some?
I was going to say, with this one,
it's very dry, right?
Yeah. So this has a little bit more IBUs or international bitterness units to it than the first beer that we had. It's going to be a little bit mouthfeel. So it's going to leave your mouth a little bit more dry on the palate. The finish is a little bit more crisp, I would say. It has a higher percentage of alcohol. This is a 7.3 versus a 6.5 is what we just did. So those couple components to the beer is going to make you kind of man, my mouth is kind of dry. But juicy beers, again, it's, this is more citrusy. Pineapple, tropical.
Orange.
That's the kind of thing you're going to have.
Do people throw a little bit of how you see some of those wheat beers, people throw an orange or a lemon in?
You could.
Do you see that happening with these or no?
With this, I feel like if you went to Carbach, they would probably not dress a beer unless you wanted to. Now, someplace we have a brewery called Hot Fusion by our house. Well, it used to be when we lived in Fort Worth. They dress all of their beers essentially. You can call it, oh, can I get it dressed? You get tahini on the rim, or say we have something called coco añejo from there. They'll put coconut flakes around the rim. If they have a seasonal beer, cinnamon or gingerbread, like have a lot of different things they can do.
Nice.
I feel like Karbach, the beer it explains itself. You don't necessarily need an accent to the beer to bring that out. Yeah. So just even smelling it. So this one's going to be a little bit more hoppy on the nose compared to that first beer that we had.
Okay, so like those unfiltered wheat beers that people are throwing in oranges necessarily don't have those components. They're complements.
I would say so. Yeah. So imagine people probably don't think of Blue Moon as a craft beer, but it's actually one of the biggest craft
Blue
beers.
Moon's badass.
Yeah.
I mean, it does hurt though. It's I mean, that's the unfiltered part or what?
Yeah. So and Molson Coors owns Blue Moon. Mags does not like wheat beers. I love wheat beers. They're my favorite type. So that banana, bubblegum, citrus.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
No,
unfiltered.
Banana beer.
Yes.
The original banana beer is Keystone.
I've never had Keystone.
What's my buddy? Don't you dare say that. You went to college. No,
yeah, I didn't. I swear. We didn't have. Oh, no, you know what? We had PBRs in Maine.
Oh, okay.
In Florida, we didn't.
That's
I drank Heinekens
shit.
all through Florida, like all through undergrad.
Oh, listen to this. Heinekens in college. Come on.
I'm
dude.
Dominican, okay?
Hey, a case of Keystone. That was like, dude, we were balling.
Well, I also lived at home for undergrad, so I feel like I just didn't have to go through that pain.
Exactly. It wasn't pain. It was fun. All right. So that one, I mean, I can see how you're rolling through. Yeah. So you're saying
that bite, there's a bite. You can taste the hop in this one.
Big bite. Yeah. Big bite.
So the IBUs is not that big of a difference between the two, but this is a 35 IBU. I don't think that the St. Arnold Harmony has it listed on there, but it's probably closer to 30. The next one, I don't know that you're going to like. It's not a New England IPA. It's 10.
Pablo, are you a beer guy? Do you want to come sit in on this one? No, I'm curious though, because I mean, like, it's coming from Galveston. So, so,
and if you're not familiar, Galveston's about an hour from Houston, south.
The Rock, baby. Yeah. I'm just curious because I mean, if they're coming around from there, you're thinking like beach vibes. Yeah. A little bit of.
So this one's still going to be citrusy.
7.2.
Yeah. Well, this one was a 7.3, so we're kind of in that realm. But watch once you pour it.
Rock you. Okay, I'll finish it.
I was gonna say, I was like, I'll help you out if you need it. So let me get you that.
So yeah, it is crazy though. I mean, to your point, once you finish that one, this one kind of quenches the thirst. This one makes you a little bit thirsty.
So look at this color.
Ooh, are those SBUs or
SRMs?
SRM.
Yeah. But this one does have more IBUs in it. So this is a 45 IBU or International Bitterness Unit. So again, more hops. So when you put it on the nose, hoppy. Dank. So dank is kind of like going to be more piney, resinous, cannabis almost smelling.
When you say
we
dank,
don't know
that's
what that
the first
smells
thing
like.
I thought.
Dank. We don't know what that smells like. We just know that it smells dank.
It smells good.
So I wouldn't
smell like this.
I would not consider this a crushable beer.
Wait. This is different, man. There's something there that I'm getting, but no, I'm not scared.
But this is technically still an IPA, which is an Indian Pale Ale. It's not a nip. Do you really?
Mid boy.
So this is a traditional IPA. So your Sierra Nevada IPA. This is going to be
Sierra
more
Nevada's,
that was my first IPA I'd ever had.
Thank you. You just called it out, and that's what I just smelled.
That's literally the color of it. And I was terrified the first time I tried it. I was like, this is kind of scary.
Sierra Nevada. That one, dude. That's old school. You just brought out.
I remember. That's my first core memory of IPAs.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So not really aromatic on the nose, but you're gonna have a lot more hop. And again, this is about a 7. More it's gonna be more bitter on finish.
I don't think is
or
bitter
resinous.
As this one.
I guess this one would be a little bit more resinous because it has the malty caramelized
Malt's
flavors.
What I like, I don't. It's more malt, less hops, right? Yeah. No.
But the IBUs is it's funny enough. It's 45 versus this one was a 35, so it's a little bit higher IBUs or international bitterness.
Yeah. So, but which the malt probably kind of sustains. But I'm telling you, this one right here is much more crushable than that.
Oh wow! And this is a little bit drier. It kind of leaves you again that dry finish.
No, I mean, that's a banger in comparison, in my opinion.
So going through again, because we didn't rate these two. This Juicy IPA, I'd probably 3.5, 3.75. So on Untapped, it goes 3, 3.25, 3.5, 3.75. I guess increments of 2.5, and then 4, and then 4.25. Up going. This one, I don't mind it, but this is almost leaning towards IPA. New England style IPA, West Coast. This is kind of in between those two.
We gotta get a crowd vote here.
West Coast,
tried it.
West Coast IPA is going to be more of this color.
Y'all tried this. You got to. In comparison, because this is wild because
everybody's palates are different.
No, I know.
So
because you were saying you were like, dude, you're not gonna like the last one
because
of what I've seen you kind of cringe at.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in comparison, dude, y'all got to try these. I really think this one was surprisingly. I think the malt is what I gravitate towards versus hops. Just me. I don't know, but what's your grade?
But it does smell daddy? Like this one again is the dank and resinous.
They're very
Boo this man! Boo this man!
Boo this man! Okay, so I was like, I feel like I'm ashamed that I didn't know what SRM stands for. It's standing room
only.
Standing room only with an M.
That's
Standard reference method.
Oh goodness.
So that's So I was like, going through a color platform.
So
standard reference method.
Yeah, it looks like almost like a paint swatch. You
Yes.
know how they do it.
Yep.
So, but I mean that's
standard.
Let me ask you this: some of these brewers, do they still do the caramel coloring in it and stuff though? That would attribute to that.
I will say
to kind of like
most breweries at this point. Most breweries if
you did
Nano
that, you would be okay.
It's like kind of frowned upon now. If you're adding color or adding flavor and it's not natural flavors to your beers, it's almost frowned upon. I will say that most of our like nano and micro breweries are using local products or like wheat and barley. What's really cool too is that they go through the process of brewing the beer. Whatever's left over, they bring to farmers so they can feed it to their livestock, which is actually for Texas, it makes so much sense to be able to use that. So, we're helping small businesses thrive, okay? And local farmers.
Yes. No, that's good. I mean, and that's the thing is do you have, say, let's talk, you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're in the Houston area.
Yeah.
There are similar stores or retail areas. Yeah. Who do you regard as like just a good go-to for, local supporters of stuff like this?
Honestly, now, and I feel like it's funny because when I first moved to Texas, I feel like I didn't really know grocery stores. I love Kroger forever.
When you're from Florida, you can buy liquor in grocery stores, right?
Well, they have to be separated by a wall.
Publix.
So I was gonna say so that's a big thing too, is having to know about the laws. So Texas is TABC specifically. In Florida,
there's like a max ABV.
Yeah, and so in Florida, you actually have to have a wall separation. When I lived in Maine,
Oklahoma.
You can go to the grocery store and buy a handle of Crown and get your eggs at the same time. I was like mind blown when I did that.
I mean, I love how you said Crown and eggs. Though.
Crown and eggs, it's like the perfect English breakfast.
Yeah, dude. No, it is kind of funny, but
I guess Irish.
I was in Oklahoma when my brother lived there, and I went in there in the grocery store. There was beer.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, we're gonna go get the liquor store beer." And I was like, well, "What's the difference?" I was like, "Liquor stores are usually more expensive, right?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Higher alcohol content." So Oklahoma has like it can only be like, and don't catch me lying, but like 2.5% max at grocery stores.
Whoa.
And then if it's over 2.5%, you have to go to a liquor store to buy it.
Wow. So you know what that reminds me of is Fireball, because people were so upset when Fireball was like in a grocery store versus in a liquor store.
But one was wine and one was liquor, right?
Yes. So going back to your original question, I love to shop at H-E-B because they have a single can section, Specs. Okay, and these are all, again, Texas stores, really. Specs I love because they also have a single can section most of the time.
Okay.
If we're trying new beers or, hey, these beers are on clearance because no one bought them, those are I love my go-to seasonal beers. Like today we went to No Label and I was like, darn, I wish I had a Christmas beer on tap or, those little things. We just love to try seasonal beers.
Question. So, the season's ending.
Yes.
What's the lifespan on like some of these? Because wine gets better with age. I mean, in the bottle, yes, you take care of it. It's going to get better with age.
Yeah.
Does beer like expire in a can?
I love that you kind of brought that up.
You smiled big, girl.
Because so imagine you aging a beer. You technically can't
bottles
age
versus cans.
Yeah, I was like, you can't really
I see where
age
you're
a
going.
beer in a can, but there are a lot of barrel aged options, or those micro breweries that like to barrel age their beers.
Yeah,
those are going to be like darker beers. So imagine like red wine, you kind of can store for quite a bit.
but
in their
white
bottles.
wine, there's no point.
White wine, or like
it's
I've
finished
seen
in
things,
steel. So
yeah, exactly.
doesn't matter.
So like if you're gonna really want to age a beer, it's gonna be those barrel aged beers, and it could be a tequila barrel, a whiskey barrel, a wine barrel, and give you those different types of elements to the beer.
Okay.
Those are gonna pretty much age a lot more. And if you go to a local brewery, a lot of times those are actually bottled. And they look like wine bottles. They're like pretty large.
Yeah.
Versus in a can.
Like
a can.
I remember the old school Delirium bottles.
Yeah.
That were like,
And Melissa, it's funny. She's always like, I don't know if this can's expired. So most of the time, cans will not show their expiration date. They will mention when they're canned.
Okay.
So
what's the rule of thumb?
Rule of thumb is if it's, and it's hard because I've caught
I don't want to put you on the spot.
I've caught a skunked keg before at a brewery.
Oh man, I've caught a couple of skunk kegs at parties. And
you can tell, depending on the beer, you can tell when it's not good anymore.
Yeah.
Canned beers, I wouldn't go more than a year.
Okay.
And depending on the ABV and the style of beer.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, is like not like aging isn't getting better, but like buying a
6
seasonal.
months. Yeah.
Can you wait for like Christmas to come back around again because you got a deal? Would you do that? No.
If it was a bottle beer, again, if it was a barrel aged Christmas beer, which Prairie Artisan Ales has some beers that are called Christmas Bomb.
Yeah.
You could probably save that after a year.
Okay.
And still be okay.
Got it.
But you will know if a barrel aged beer, you taste it, you open it, and it doesn't pop.
Skunky.
It's like you pop a bottle of beer open, and it doesn't go like that carbonated sound, I wouldn't even drink it. If it's flat, it's bad.
Can we hear that on the mic?
I know.
I mean, with this shore, like it's probably just like, oh, it sounds so good. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. But it would sound good.
It's one of those things where you taste, or like you're not gonna taste a bottle of milk.
Yeah.
You're gonna smell it first.
Oh, now I'm not hungry anymore.
If you, carbonation is key. If it's in a can or in a bottle and you don't hear it, there's a very distinct sound.
Sure.
If it's not carbonated anymore, it's probably not good anymore. I wouldn't even try to drink.
Is that one of the challenges home brewing faces a lot?
I would say so.
Yeah.
But
because it's natural carbonation, or is it introduced?
Well, so carbonation comes from the sugar content of the beer.
Okay.
So when you're home brewing, they actually sell these little, it looks like almost like a candy it's like a full little Hall shaped piece of candy you could drop in a bottle and seal it. We had our stout and actually lasted about a year. It was still okay. It still had carbonation in it. So again, the carbonation, I would say if you're not sure, if a bottle or can is open and you don't hear or smell, or you pour it and there's no carbonation to the beer and it's flat, it's likely bad.
So carbonation is your measuring point.
Yes, I would say. Or you didn't let it carbonate long enough if it's a homebrew beer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it an old wives' tale of people like calling it green beer, or is that like a thing?
That's why it's funny because my mind went, if it's skunky, it's bad. But all the beers I started drinking initially, green bottled beers, are skunky.
As hell.
They're skunky and they're dank, and I love them. And I will love them forever.
Are we talking about beer? Or are we talking about the ganja?
No, the skunky beers.
The
Heineken
skunky and the danky beers.
Yeah, green bottled beers. Again, the opaqueness of the can or of the bottle.
Yeah,
clear bottles. You don't want you don't want sun to touch those at all.
But so the green bottles are serving a purpose.
They give a little bit, they get a little bit of sun. They're okay. The amber bottles, it's almost like a pharmacy bottle where you should not have direct sunlight to that bottle at all because it can affect the beer.
Got it. Well, dude, I'm super stoked on this time that we got to spend together, and that you got to come out here to the studio and hang with me.
So fun.
What's your next Beer Me Dr. V's next episode? Are you wanting to head out somewhere and talk about somewhere fun? Or are you looking for that banger that no one knows about? Like, what direction is Beer Me Dr. V going?
So 2025, I would love to get back in the podcasting scene, but we have so much travel.
I know of a place.
Yeah, it's like we travel so much. I would love to continue just finding new breweries. But so one of my biggest things that I loved, and we haven't seen it enough because we haven't been podcasting as much, is we have followers that'll say, "Hey, can you go find this beer and try it? We would love for you to try it."
Really?
Or people send us beers and say, "Hey, can you try this? Blind taste it. Tell us what you think." I would love for 2025 for us to say we can find new beers. We can
engagement.
I have a 5-gallon fermenter that we're wanting to try, so we are going to get there. So more home brewing, more new beers, more suggestions and recommendations. If you send us beers, we would love it. TABC is so hard on Texas that we cannot ship beers, so it makes it challenging. So
more excuse to travel.
If you tell us, we will come.
Yes, nice. Mags is ready to pull up.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, I always enjoy, enjoying adult beverages with the two of you.
For sure.
My bro-in-law, my sis-in-law. So thank you for coming. This is wonderful. And they were kind enough to hook up Pablo. So I think at the end in the comments, he's going to post his beer score ratings, right? There we go, Big Daddy. All right. Well, thanks. Happy New Year.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll see y'all. Ooh, look at that. That's cool.
Beer me, Dr. V.
See?
Another episode.
He had some good shots going in there.